It's dull, but it's just enough to get under that bark that you just made a slice in, and just slip this little knob in here and lift it off. Just lift it up. You don't want to take it off. You just lift it up. And what you're doing is you're creating an envelope. You make this vertical slice. You open it up from the incision side, and then you take a little thing that we call a bud shield, and Sean has cut a bunch of them here. And when you look at some new wood, this is wood that grew this year. These little things that we just clipped off are leaves, and right here, where this little stem from the leaf meets this branch, is a bud. And that's the bud that we want to transplant to the rootstock. And you take a really sharp knife and you scoop out this little bud. And that's called the bud shield. You don't need the leaf, but it's handy to have the stem right at the base of the leaf to hang on to. Okay, so that's what Sean's been doing here, and this little thing here is the bud shield. Okay, so you can come up here afterwards and get a good look at this. But then what you do, we have a nice fat piece of wood here.
Get yourself in the practice wood.
You make that incision, and this wood feels very hydrated here. It's very slippery. You make the long cut that's about maybe 1.5 inches long, and then right at the top you make maybe a 1/4 inch cut right across, perpendicular. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little knob on this knife, and you don't have to have a knob to do this, it just makes things a little bit easier. And you open it up. And this wood is perfect for this. It's really well hydrated. It's very slippery, and that's exactly what you want.
Is it easy to rip?
Huh?
Is it easy to rip it too much?
If you get the right wood, it is not.
Okay.
But you want to anticipate that you're going to be doing some bud grafting, and so you want to water your rootstock really well.
Okay.
And when it's in the middle of summer like this, if you've been watering it for a couple months, it's going to be real juicy, which is what you want.
Good.
Okay, so here's that little bud shield we were talking about. Here's that little cut in the bark. I just made this little envelope here. I'm going to slip this thing right in there. Gesundheit. It's real easy. I just tuck it right in there and slide it down, okay? So here's the rootstock. Here's your new tree right here. And you can pass this around. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to wrap this up right away. We're going to cover it with some kind of tape or you have these big fat rubber bands. They're called grafting rubbers. And you just wind it around here to hold this little thing in there. And then cover it with something usually like a grafting seal, which keeps the moisture in, because this is going to take just fine unless it dries out. So you do this in the morning when it's cool and moist outside. You don't do it at the heat of the day, because your success will be a lot less. So in fact, commercial grafters, they go out and start doing this before the sun comes up. You know, and when the sun gets on the field, they're done.
Sits in there like that.